Good evening. I'm Kelda Yoon. Canada Day long weekend is now upon us. Fireworks, of course, will be a big part of the celebrations with displays planned in various parts of the city. Now, the big show is happening at Ashbridges Bay on Monday. Dale Manukdar has more on what's in store.
Planning to celebrate the red and white on Canada Day with pops of green, purple, and the full spectrum of the rainbow?
If they want fireworks, come to the Ashbridges Bay. We'll have a fireworks show. We think it's going to be good weather.
Tens of thousands of people are expected. The city says take public transit.
To support customers attending the fireworks display at Ashbridges Bay, the TTC is adding an additional train on Line 2 and extra buses on the 92 Woodbine and 22 Coxwell routes on Monday, July 1st.
At Ashbridges Bay, the fireworks get lit at 10 p.m. There are 3 other shows planned in the other corners of the city at around the same time. Those will be at Centennial Park in Etobicoke, Milliken Park in Scarborough, and Stan Wadlow Park in East York.
Torontonians are reminded that fireworks are only allowed without a permit on Canada Day and Victoria Day until 11 p.m., and it must be done on one's own property. Fireworks are not permitted in city parks or on beaches, balconies, streets, parking lots, or on property not owned by the person setting off the fireworks.
There will be a large police presence at Ashbridges Bay. On Victoria Day in 2022, things got out of hand with people shooting fireworks at each other, into crowds, and at police, resulting in injuries and several arrests. There were no incidents in 2023. However, police say their increased presence there is causing people to go elsewhere in the city, particularly Christie Pitts. Last month on Victoria Day, youth were seen engaging in what are called fireworks wars, again shooting them at each other across Bloor Street as vehicles passed by and pedestrians lined the sidewalk. There were no arrests made or anyone fined in that incident, even though fireworks were seen being lit just feet away from police.
It's a matter of us being able to safely get to them at the time, to identify them, and if we see people with fireworks before they are lit, they're turning them over to us. If it's a situation as it occurred at Christie Pitts where teenagers are shooting the fireworks at themselves, we're making sure that the people around them are safe before we intervene to then be able to identify and potentially lay charges with city bylaw.
Kelda, if somebody does break the city's fireworks bylaw, they could be slapped with a $1,000 fine. Toronto police say that any reckless behavior, including using fireworks as a weapon on the public or police, is a criminal offense. Now, while Toronto police didn't lay any fireworks-related charges on Victoria Day, Halton police did arrest and charge 4 youth. So best to come watch one of these city's fireworks shows or follow the rules, set them off on your own property. We'll send it back to you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Dale. It's also a big weekend for Pride. Pride Month celebrations have been taking place throughout June, culminating in Pride Festival weekend, which kicked off today. And as Tyler Cheese tells us, there's plenty to celebrate this year.
As usual with Pride, there's a lot happening in the village this weekend, so I spoke with some of the organizers to break it all down.
The streets of Church Street will be, just a real buzz of the 2S LGBTQ community.
Things kick off tonight with the Trans Rally and March, which will take over parts of Bloor and Yonge Streets. Then tomorrow afternoon, the Dyke March will also follow that same route. And of course, on Sunday is the Pride Parade. That begins at 2 p.m. and also goes down Yonge Street from Bloor all the way to Dundas. And while all that's going on,
our street fair is an amazing place with over 300 vendors along the Church Street. And, the DJs, the stages, it's just would be an amazing place to be.
This is one of the busiest times of year for our local businesses, and one of the busiest times in both terms of number of people visiting the businesses and also the amount of business that they're conducting.
Pride Toronto says the festival brought in more than 3 million visitors in 2023, and they're expecting even more this year. And for some, it's just as much a celebration for the neighborhood as it is for the people.
We are also Canada's largest and oldest 2S LGBTQ community. This has been a visibly queer neighborhood since the 1950s, so over 70 years.
Toronto. Over at the 519, the nonprofit is holding its 15th annual Green Space Festival in Barbara Hall Park. Money raised at the festival helps the 519 fund a wide range of programs and services.
So every drink that somebody buys, that's an opportunity for us to provide a hot meal to a senior. Every donation somebody makes, that's a way that we can help cover the costs of changing somebody's legal name who's transitioning. Every Club 519 pass people buy, that's money that we can use to help support the over 10,000 LGBTQ refugees who have turned to us in the past year for programs and support.
And while Festival Weekend is centered on celebration, organizers say it's important to remember that Pride is inherently a protest.
It is as important in 2024 to celebrate Pride as it was in 1971 when we had our first Pride, because we are still being attacked. It's the hate crime against the 2S LGBTQ plus community are on the rise, especially our trans community, our drag queen community. And you know that saying that says, no one is free until we all are free.
He's also encouraging allies to come out and show their support for the community this weekend. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
We told you last night that the historic Revue Cinema was in danger of closing over a dispute with the landlord. Well, tonight there's a glimmer of hope for the 112-year-old theater. The nonprofit that operates it says it's been granted an injunction that halts an eviction until a trial is held. The Ontario Superior Court of Justice granted the injunction late today. The theater is at risk after its landlord wouldn't extend the Revue Film Society's lease, which is set to expire Monday. The court order means Revue will continue to operate until further notice. And breaking news tonight, in a surprise move, WestJet mechanics are now on strike. The job action comes just one day after the federal labor minister ordered binding arbitration to resolve issues between the airline and the workers' union. Now, late tonight, the union said the airline's unwillingness to negotiate made the strike inevitable. WestJet says it is outraged and is expecting severe travel disruptions if the strike isn't called off immediately. The passengers are being warned to check the status of their flights before leaving for the airport. In a post on X, Pearson Airport says it will update passengers as any operational effects become clear. Well, thousands of LCBO workers could be going on strike 1 week from now, and the province is putting together a contingency plan in the case that happens. Vanessa Ballantyne has the details.
Roughly 9,000 workers could walk off the job next Friday, closing LCBO stores across the province for 2 weeks. In downtown Toronto, it's part of what led Julie Ng to buy booze while she still had the chance.
I am so stocked up right now. It's a bit ridiculous. It's embarrassing. I can't show you.
Businesses feel the same. Kadeem Legal, the general manager at Queen Street Warehouse, says they're trying to plan ahead.
Everybody in the industry who sells alcohol and who doesn't have like a private supplier, that would, we'd be pretty much out of business if we can't get liquor.
In an update Thursday, LCBO says it wants to achieve a fair deal with the Ontario Public Service Employees Union. But in the case it can't, it says it will transition to a different operating model. After the 14-day closure, stores would open from Friday to Sunday in 30 select stores with limited hours. It's something Colleen McLeod, the chair of the union's Liquor Board Employees Division, says came as a surprise.
A lot of our members got quite upset because it's almost like intimidation and fear.
McLeod says the shutdown is driving people away from the LCBO when the agency needs all the support it can get. She says workers are feeling uncertainty and worsening job security following Premier Doug Ford's recent industry shakeup. Among other changes, the Ford government is pushing to get grocery and convenience stores the right to sell beer, wine, and cider at prices lower than the LCBO's. McLeod says she welcomes changes to regulation, but workers need to be considered.
They're not taking us seriously when we say that we have ideas, we have a vision. We have a vision that will protect the LCBO and protect the revenues that continue to come in through the LCBO.
Hassoni Raymond says while the strike would prompt customers to look outside the LCBO, it's important for workers to stand up for themselves.
Workers deserve to be treated fairly and compensated fairly. So whatever inconvenience that might cost to me, I don't think would be major.
LCBO says customers can also shop online during the strike, but stock will likely be reduced due to the labor disruption. Vanessa Ballantyne, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. In a rare and unexpected move, a police board member was removed by Toronto City Council yesterday. Nadine Spencer was only appointed to the board last year. The vote to remove her comes after 2 CBC Toronto investigations into her private business and her role as head of a well-known charity. And today, Mayor Olivia Chow was tight-lipped on why Spencer was booted. Olivia Bowden has more.
As to the details of what Nadine Spencer was accused of doing, I think we'll leave that and not comment on it because it's really confidential.
Mayor Chow wouldn't share why City Council took what's believed to be the unprecedented step to remove Nadine Spencer from the Toronto Police Service Board yesterday. At a news conference Friday, she said it's not something the public will learn.
The matter itself is the actual decision is public, but other issues should remain in confidential matter.
The catalyst for Spencer's removal came through an urgent motion from Councillor Shelley Carroll. The motion recommended Spencer's position be rescinded immediately and that she be replaced. It passed 22-1. This is the first time ever a member has been removed by council. And Spencer's ejection from the board comes on the heels of 2 CBC Toronto investigations. CBC reported earlier this month on Spencer's private marketing company called Brand EQ. The investigation found that for years, she seemed to misrepresent the scale of her business. She represented apparent senior company leaders with stock images. Photos of real people were also used who were not actually associated with the company. Spencer denied fabricating employees. That investigation followed another CBC Toronto investigation related to contracts awarded by a charity Spencer previously ran. In a statement following yesterday's vote, Spencer says she doesn't understand why it happened. She says, "I'm deeply disappointed in Council's decision, which follows months of unfounded and false allegations. Their decision is reckless and without reason. Over the past 2 months, I have been in continuous contact with the city and the TPSB, who each recognize the importance of awaiting the third-party review regarding these baseless accusations. While today's decision was uninformed, I am confident the facts will speak for themselves in due course." As for what's next, in the same motion, Council appointed Chris Brillinger to take Spencer's place. He's the Executive Director of Family Services Toronto. Olivia Bowden, CBC News, Toronto.
Questions continue to swirl about last week's sudden closure of the Ontario Science Centre and whether it was the right move. The province cited safety hazards as the issue, saying a consultant's report revealed some roof panels could collapse due to snowfall. But engineers and architects who have reviewed the report say the permanent closure wasn't necessary. Bobby Hristova has the details.
Last Friday, people got a shock when these fences went up and the Science Center buildings behind them closed down. But was it necessary? Here's what we found.
I hope that you will have an opportunity to visit and enjoy this Science Center because it is yours.
The Science Center opened in 1969, consisting of 3 buildings with numerous exhibits. It's attracted roughly 1 million people every year for 55 years. But the province says its roofing includes a lightweight concrete that was commonly used in the 60s. It's called RAC, or Reinforced Autoclaved Aerated Concrete. That material is weaker and has a shorter lifespan than normal concrete.
Minister, can you give us a sense?
Earlier this week, Infrastructure Minister King Asurma said parts of the roof are ready to collapse and won't be able to handle heavy snowfall this winter.
We have to take the warning signs of engineers very seriously. This is a health and safety matter.
She pointed to these consultant reports as proof that the center should be closed. So we dug into them and we asked 4 engineers and architects to do the same for us. We also built some graphics so you can see for yourself what the government consultant report found. It turns out just 6 panels across 3 buildings were at critical risk of collapsing. Between 2 and 6% of the roof panels inspected were also at high risk. The rest of the roof panels only needed to be reviewed every 1 to 3 years. Here's what experts think about if closing was the right call.
There was nothing in the engineer's report which seems to suggest the immediate closure of the Science Center.
That's Hitesh Doshi, an architecture professor at Toronto Metropolitan University.
So
here's Sam Adu-Amankwa, an associate professor of civil engineering at Aston University in England.
It didn't specifically say shut the place down.
Places that I've never actually...
We also asked Carol Phillips, a partner at the firm founded by the Science Center's original architect.
The document does not call for that, and the document does not actually even suggest that as the proper remediation.
We design structural members.
And Yasser Karani, a forensic engineer who investigates structures that fail.
There is no immediate danger. Just to give you a peace of mind, we are in the middle of summer. There is no snow on the top of this roof. We are 5 months away from the next snowfall.
The province also said it would take at least 2 years and cost up to $40 million to replace the center's roof. But the report says the high-risk panels could have been addressed sooner for a fraction of the cost. Experts say that should happen first.
We should be growing our cultural institutions, not shrinking them. And we certainly shouldn't be leaving them to go derelict.
Provincial officials would not agree to an interview to discuss the contradictions between what they say and what the 4 experts we spoke to say. They told us in a statement the roof isn't the only problem that needs fixing at the Science Centre, and they still support the decision to close immediately. They also say their plan to build a smaller Science Centre at Ontario Place will save people money. Bobby Hristova, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, if you're still looking for something to do on Canada Day, the newly established Uxbridge Urban Provincial Park will be open to the public on a limited basis as of July 1st. Hayden Waters got an early access tour of the site to learn more about the new park and its trails.
This is kind of like, if there's a signature thing in this park so far, it's this tree so far. Any ideas how old it is?
Oh, it's well over 100 years. Well over 100 years old.
Okay, can you tell me where we are right now? We're in the trees, obviously, but where are we right now?
We are in the township of Uxbridge in the newly established, as of July 1st, Uxbridge Urban Provincial Park.
So this is a new provincial park. What kind of provincial park are we talking here, though?
Well, this is an urban provincial park. We're working on a new classification just specifically for this park to be the first.
Okay, got you. So this is new ground for Ontario Parks then, right?
New ground,
okay.
Yes.
Where do you go from here, figuring out how an urban provincial park works exactly?
Well, the ministry has a proposal right now for a new park classification under our Provincial Parks and Conservation Reserves Act, and MPP Downey has a private member's bill to introduce the idea of an urban classification. This was 20 years in the making, actually. A group of individuals and stakeholders really were looking to protect these lands. They're part of the trail network here in Uxbridge, along with the township of Uxbridge. And they came to the ministry last year in 2023 with a proposal to create a provincial park here.
There's lots of trails here. So what was already here before, I guess, versus what is new now?
Yeah, this was the property of a family, and they created a lot of these paths and trails that you see here now, and they still stand today. So we're just using them as a trail network.
This is from a long time ago, or?
From a long time ago, yeah, absolutely. It was the Tannenbaum family who owned this property many, many years ago.
And then the province bought it, or it was given to the province?
It was given to the province, yeah. This is the wetland area, and you see this deck. It was here as part of the property when the Tannenbaums owned the property.
Do you have an area that stands out to you so far in this park?
Oh my gosh, I don't think so, because everything is just so unique. We come out of a wooded area and we see a wetland, and then we can, walk back up and see beautiful old growth trees or beautiful large pines.
What do you want folks that are going to be coming down as of July 1st, what do you want them to take away from their time in the park?
We're stewards of the land, and I think it's our duty to really protect it and enjoy it.
It kind of looks like we're in California or somewhere like that with these trees, right? This is not something I necessarily see out and about in Ontario every day, right?
That's right. Here we are, Provincial Park.
Thank you for giving me the sneak peek grand tour today. I'm excited for other people to see it as well.
Yes, we're excited, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Well, Chris, school is out, pools are open, it's Canada Day, you got the Pride Parade this weekend. weather-wise, looking okay?
Yeah, all in all, not too bad. But I will say again, we will start the long weekend with some wet weather. Kelda does move in tonight. It will continue rather on and off in nature into the day tomorrow, primarily through the morning and early afternoon. Through the late afternoon and early evening, we should start to not only lose the opportunity for rainfall, but there's also a risk of thunderstorms tomorrow, primarily mid to late afternoon. And this is going to be universal. Temperature-wise, normal daytime high for this time of year is 25.4. We didn't quite reach that value yesterday. We didn't quite reach that value today. We peaked at around 22, 20 at Hamilton, 24 through St. Catharines, as well as Ottawa. In terms of active weather, this is all being driven by a fairly large system, and it's actually extending all the way from the southern prairies, northwestern Ontario, and now the upper Great Lakes starting to get into the bulk of that rainfall. But we are going to start to see that move in towards the GTA as we head through the overnight. We might even encounter a couple of drops of rain just around midnight, but it's on and off in nature through the overnight. Tomorrow morning, there's some heavier bands of rain moving its way in towards the western end of Lake Ontario across Niagara. There could be some embedded thunderstorm activity in there as well. But even if you don't get a thunderstorm, there's still going to be the potential for steady rain, at times moderate, maybe even heavy at times, especially across eastern Ontario as we get through Saturday afternoon and evening. Once we get into Saturday evening, it does look like it will start to dry out. There's still going to be some very hit or miss showers that will kind of linger across the region, primarily north and northeast of the GTA. So I think that we'll stay dry here in the city and surrounding areas. By Sunday for the Pride Parade, I'm afraid it's not going to be a hot day. Temperatures will trend in the low 20s, but at least it will be a dry weather day. In terms of the temperatures, overnight lows tonight, basically mid to upper teens for the most part. Temperatures tomorrow peaking in the mid-20s across much of the region, and it will probably feel closer to 30. So the humidity levels along with the temperature does increase tomorrow, but also we have that rainfall from time to time. It's not going to be all day long. I want to stress that point, but still have an umbrella handy. Once we get into Sunday for the Pride Parade, 21 degrees, a decent amount of sun. At times, a little cloud will spill down in towards the GTA, but like I mentioned, we'll stay dry. Monday, a beautiful day for July 1st. High pressure is in place, sunshine, Kelda, from start to finish, highs around 23, and it looks like the winds will be light for this thing that tends to happen for Canada Day, fireworks. Once we get into Tuesday, a little bit of increase in cloud through the second half of the day, along with a slight uptick in temperatures with a high of 24, and it looks like temperatures will approach 30 for us on Wednesday with a slight chance of showers. That's a full check on your weather forecast. Hopefully that will help you plan. Have a great, safe, long weekend, as long as you have it off.
Thanks so much, Chris.